Okay, I'm still learning how to do some of these things. I believe that now we're on this crazy, we're on my real mic. Every once in a while, it wants to use the embedded microphone in my webcam because it's so smart. So sorry about that. We're back, and we are doing a live character creation. We're making a dwarf barbarian, and this is what we got so far from the ability boosts from the race. And we're probably looking at taking this mountain roots feat, which will help him stick in combat, be sticky. On the fence about whether that's the right choice, but we're moving on to background ability boosts. Acrobat could be cool because that is relating to. How are we doing for chat? Like, let's see, is chat popped out? Okay, let's see. Is this really the chat window for this one? Yes. Awesome. Very good. Hello. I believe Pathfinder may be great for a while here. And it may be great for a long time, depending on how much things get out of control with the community focusing on making the perfect character. And I'm not like, I think that that's part of what happened, is that you try to have any conversation about Pathfinder, and instead of it being about like the fun thing you did on your quest or the monster that you fought or so the cool thing that your GM is doing to kind of bring to life a particular NPC, it's always about like, what feat should I take, or like, what's the, like, this thing is overpowered. And those conversations are fun, but for whatever reason they've become the only Pathfinder conversation you can have in a Pathfinder space. And in the RPG agnostic spaces, it's really hostile. Like you say you play Pathfinder in like some Facebook groups, and you get made fun of. So let's hope that this kind of renews kind of the basic enthusiasm for like playing the game and story stuff. So let's pick an option here. I'm thinking probably Hunter. Yeah, I mean, let's just be real. Choose 2 ability boosts: dexterity or wisdom, and 1 free. So let's pick up a dexterity, and let's take dex to 12, and then let's move strength to 14 for our barbarian. Okay, and then he also gains the survey wildlife feat, and he's trained in hunting lore. That's going to be what we get from background. There we go. All right, so now we have 4 free ability boosts before we're going to move on to in the nuts and bolts of the class and start picking feats. Let's see what we got here. Let's move strength to 16. Let's move dex to 14. Let's move con to 14. And this is the question is really whether I want 1 more skill, or whether I want my will save and other stuff to be 1 higher. So, I think we're going to leave charisma at 8 because it's the classic barbarian thing to do. Doesn't mean it's a dump stat. There are reasons, especially since critical failures on social skills can bring about bad situations. Like, this is meaningful, having an 8 in a skill like that, in a set. I definitely think that could be interesting, because like if you had to make like a streetwise roll or something like that, just kind of to, it could lead to you could let slip information. There's lots of interesting things that critical failures on skills probably describe, and we'll get to that when we start talking about skills. But I want to like see what this character creation process spits out back at us. So let's get to classes, and let's get to the barbarian, and let's look at this. So I imagine the classic shaven head dwarf barbarian. I imagine that maybe his name is going to be, this is a name that I use a lot for NPCs, way too often, but do it. If you know where a form fillable version of the sheet is, I'm pretty curious about that. If anyone's got one, it doesn't look like one came with the playtest package. Oh, well. And I need to remember to lean like this way. Okay. Yeah. Intimidate is and intimidate's a cool signature skill. I think when you have signature, you can like literally scare someone to death with the new way that skills work, which is going to be fun. Let's see if I can pop out chat so that we don't have to divide by 0 like this. Very cool. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I apologize about the sound thing. I had to reboot in order to get screen capture, and then when I rebooted, Chrome wanted to use the webcam microphone for reasons that no one can understand. But we're back. So let's talk about this guy. We're gonna have to pick a totem. We're really gonna think about that. So we have rage, and that is not adjustable. That just is. So this is gonna be our saving throws. Oh, and he has a better. So okay. So I think key ability means that strength is going to boost by another 1 to 18. And that's going to be our stat line, if I understand correctly. And I'm pretty happy with that. I like that. So I think we're just going to do the things that we have to choose for. I'm not going to fill out the entirety of the sheet. And we'll take a look at the skill. We'll make the decision about what skill to do. And then I will later on probably post like an Imgur link to a finalized character sheet in the description of this video if you're watching this at a later date. But getting all the P's and Q's and stuff like that just right on the sheet is probably not a worthy use of time. We are doing another nap time stream. My son is upstairs sleeping, and allegedly grandma's going to come over, but I also have to do normal adult things and take care of my house. But Pathfinder 2. So let's chat. At first level and every even numbered level thereafter, you gain a barbarian class feat. All right, so let's go to, and these are the features which are going to accumulate, so that's not important. So we already picked our ancestry feat. We have a background. We're going to get a barbarian feat just now, and proficiencies, rage, totem. So we're not going to pick a general feat until level 3. Very cool. And I don't believe in building your character ahead of time. I know that that's a big focus of Pathfinder communities. But I really think it's fun to be like, I leveled up. What is happening in the campaign? How is my character being shaped by the world? What's the next thing? Sure, there's probably like cool trees and cool things that you can plan out. They're trying to get a little bit of that dead end problem out of Pathfinder 2, and I really support that. But notwithstanding that, it's not going to be a focus. I'm not going to do 20 level build. I might talk about like you're leveling up, you're about to take your first general feat. What should you pick? Like I might do a video like that later. But for the time being, my focus on the channel is like first level and tactics. Like the things that are in the cleric strategy guide. The things that are about kind of what is it like when you're in combat with 40 goblins versus 1 dragon? And how does that change the things you're going to do? That's the sort of thing that I would like to focus on if I'm going to talk about game rules and gamey stuff, is that sort of thing. So let's peek into chat. Let your character react to the campaign and not just make a list of options. Yes. A kindred spirit. I agree. I really hear somebody upstairs. It's probably grandma. But somebody's definitely inside my house. So I'm going to let you guys tell me what totem I should use. And so I'm probably going to go for animal or dragon totem. Inclined towards animal right now, but I'm going to get back to you. You got 60 seconds. Okay, so we're back. Let's check chat and say what people say. Dragon Totem Dwarf Barbarian sounds, yes, it does. Maybe a white, yeah, that sounds good. So let's look at this. Perhaps your culture reveres draconic majesty. Yes, I imagine that they do. Like they just can't get over how much bling Smog the Red Ancient Dragon has. After drinking and or bathing. Yeah, I like it. So this is some good, there's some notes of flavor that really call out to you. And this is one of the few places reading the classes where I felt the really deep flavor choices, the subclass kind of stuff that goes on in 5e, kind of popped out to me here when it comes to Pathfinder 2. So defying a dragon or so what happens when you do anathema? I like that. I mean, you really like you will mouth off to a dragon one day because the dragon's being a mean guy, and paying that opportunity cost is probably worthwhile. So let's see. So basically, I would be getting +2 to damage when I'm raging, and I could make it fire damage or lightning damage and so on. Let's just call it fire. Increases the damage and so and then you also pick up even more traits. It's rage is already concentration. I believe it says open. I believe it says emotion. It's so the tags, the things, abilities are getting a lot of tags. So like if we were to just do this with rage, let's do it. So if I'm going to scroll up here to the rage feature, it's already got these 4 tags. So this is, it's a bit. We got to think about this, and we got to think about like if that's going to start to be. It's these things probably don't mean a lot at once, each one of them, or if anything, they may just be triggered like something affects arcane powers, but it's definitely something which is instead of a lot of numbers, instead of math finder, it feels like quantum finder, like or binary finder. So we it's I have an opinion about it. I'm not sure what the opinion is, but it's definitely we're replacing one kind of complexity with another. That's kind of how I feel about it. So yeah, we're doing the dragon totem, and let's look at barbarian feats. So we're going to get one of these, and then the character is going to be basically complete except for skills and equipment. And I guess we'll go to equipment and we'll pick out some weapons for him as well. Let's see. Don't need that because he is a dwarf. So basically we have 3 choices. This is interesting that like really if it's that easy for people to pick subclasses in 5th edition, what we're looking at in Pathfinder is very similar. Pathfinder 2, like we're choosing one of 3 things. Moment of clarity. No, I want to rage. I want to be angry. I don't want to be the less angry barbarian. Interesting idea, but probably something to use with a multi-class character concept. So you could cast like a 1-action heal spell if you were a barbarian cleric, if you had this feat. Not interested. So this lets you do intimidates while you're raging. Interesting. And this is sudden charge, which I like a lot. And we already are kind of committed to a very melee focused barbarian, if I understand correctly. Because we went pretty deep into strength, and we could have gone the dexterity route. But we're really I want to keep it centered. Let's do a really classic kind of character. So I think we're going to spin it, and we're going to do a skill focus. We're going to pick up raging intimidation, and we're going to look at how intimidation works. And this will be our first dive into skills. So let's get to the skill chapter, and we're going to pick out our skills. And then we're going to call it a day, because life. But let's check chat. Let's see what people are saying right now. Keyword list. There's a couple of pages near the end. Yes. So there's lots going on with these, and I think everybody's going to have maybe a front and back sheet printed out with the keywords. It's on us, I think, at this early stage in the game with Pathfinder 2 to put our best foot forward and to do the right thing that'll like lead to this game succeeding in our so that we'll have fun with it, basically. Not for anybody else or not for its reputation, but think about grappling in 3rd edition. Think about the reputation grappling has now, even now that it's simpler. Print out the flowchart was always the answer with grappling. And I'm gonna try and be a little bit more in frame for this soapbox moment. With these tags, you know, I'm saying that I don't know all of them yet, and I don't know everything about them yet, but I think that's it's not going to stop me. And so, I mean, I know what the answer is, and it's not like it's hard. Printing stuff out seems to be hard for people. I mean, I don't know, if you go to college, just go to the computer lab and use the college's printer. For example, another example of a thing you can do is just take a picture of a page and put it in your camera roll on your computer or on your tablet. And that way you don't have to page through to the important bit. But really the best thing to do, I think, would be to just really get it so that it fits on front and back. You know, make the font small if you have to, and then just squint at it. That's a strongly held opinion. Yeah, so raging intimidation is interesting because you have to be in encounter. Does it say you have to be in encounter mode to go into a rage? I guess maybe it doesn't, which is interesting. It definitely means that like there's this moment. You definitely, I'd say, if I was the GM, I'd say you do go into encounter mode when the barbarian like closes his eyes and goes over 9,000. Yeah, it's definitely a thing to keep in mind. Is like it is a skill thing, but it's very much an encounter mode skill thing. That's kind of what's on my mind with that. So we need to pick skills, and these are so we get 3 plus intelligence, which means we're going to have 4 skills, and these are the signature skills that I think he's better at, that you unlock special things with: acrobatics, athletics, and intimidation. We will just do those, and then we'll have a 4th skill. And then we'll look at our probabilities for the various acrobatics. Grab edge. This is a cool thing that they put in here. You got to have your reaction to do it. And it is manipulate, so like it'll provoke, which is even more interesting. It's cool. It feels a little 4th edition-y with how exhaustively they define skills, and yet I really enjoy it because it seems like it's very much thought out what the things are. Or maybe that's a free action. That's the free action icon. I don't know. I haven't learned the free action versus... Yeah, so this is free. This is re. Unfortunately, they made them all squares, and I think that's a missed opportunity. They made them all squares, and they made them all the same color. And if they had made them hexagons and circles and so on, it's just a possible way to help with those icons, since they're so important, since you really have to know them. I mean, it could get as annoying as that guy who can't tell the difference between a D20 and a D10. You know, I'm sure I will work it out, and it'll get stuck in my brain which of the two is which. But you will probably also have a guy for whom it'll never sink in. If these icons stay the way they are, that's an issue. Acrobatic athletics. Looks like athletics is going to have some things to do with grappling, which is cool. Grappling is athletics. Very cool. And it's strength based. So this guy is he's gonna, yeah, very cool. So he's gonna have a +5 to this, and it is an attack, and you are trying to hit the opponent's fortitude DC. he gets the grabbed condition, which we'll have to look that up. But that's interesting. It doesn't seem to provoke. But then escaping a grapple is not an attack. So it'll just tax him in action. That's cool. I like that a lot, because that basically means like he doesn't lose his attack to get out of the grapple, but you do take one action away from him for him to actively resist it. It's cool design. And, by all means, point out in chat if I'm getting some of these things wrong. I am looking at them basically for the first time right now. So let's look at Intimidate, because we just looked at, this is what we're going to do. Very clearly written. This is definitely interesting, because with this level of like clarity about what a success roll is for this skill, and this is also interesting because you are raging, and so the kind of directives you can give to someone, like there's a role-playing constraint for me. If I was playing this barbarian, the complexity of what I could coerce someone into after I was already in a rage would be relatively modest. Modified by the circumstances at the GM's discretion. That's spelt out. Like, so I was going to say, like, I might give someone a -2 to their roll to coerce a goblin, based on, like, please unlock the trap, please unlock the door and tell me if it's trapped and tell me the location. And it's like, no, John, you're screaming at the top of your lungs and the veins are popping out of your skull because you're John the Dwarf raging barbarian right now. So it's, it's fun that they're thinking of the story, they're thinking of the narrative, they're thinking of the GM as they're inside this. So what else can you do? Let's look at demoralize. That's the main thing that I think that feat we just took does, isn't it? Rage. Yes, you can demoralize, gains rate there. Okay. Choose a creature within 30 feet you sense or see who can sense or see you. Okay. That's interesting, because that means like you can't intimidate people in the dark. So human barbarians have some issues. Or just anyone who wants to use this in a dark dungeon. And this also makes it's an interesting way that like the darkness spell interacts with this sort of power. Just something to keep in mind, basically. I think that for some people it could get a little irritating, that the game part of the game is getting in there with the social skills, but I think that, I feel relaxed about it. I think it'll be fine. So let's look at our last skill. Okay, so those are our 3, and now we would pick another one. I think it should probably be... It should be nature. Yeah, because that's... Yeah, I mean, barbarians are into animals. Yeah, let's do it. I think maybe nature is replacing ride. It'd be interesting if it is. I haven't seen anything about mounted combat, period, in this game. If it's really just been snipped out of 5th edition big time, I think that we're also seeing mounted combat is going the highway. So what weapon is this guy going to use? That's going to be our last thing before we move on. By closing the stream and maybe having a little talk in chat about what to do next. I think I probably need to make a real video. I can't just keep doing streams like this because I've got a reputation to keep up, man. Let's check chat and let's see what we should pick for a weapon. Nature, for sure. It goes with hunter. There. Yeah, I have some stuff cut off of the left and right, I think, or maybe the top and bottom with some of this chat. There we go. Axes and hammers. Yeah, if it's a dwarf, because we could take the down the road, we might want to have the dwarf weapons and do the thing where they get more improved over time. So let's first look at, he can wear light and medium armor, and we probably want to take advantage of the dwarf feature. So we would be doing one of these, scale mail or chain mail. So he has dexterity 14, so his AC would go up to basically 16. Now, the thing is, I don't know, I haven't seen how you get shields as a proficiency, but barbarian using a shield is something I like, that I've done in the past, but it's definitely not middle of the road. And this guy is very much middle of the road. Merik he's a no nonsense, kick in the door dwarf barbarian. I think he's probably going to dual wield something. So let's get in there and let's talk about weapons. Characters who focus on combat need to carefully consider their choice of weapons. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Thanks. I mean, that's a nice pat on the back, I guess. It's an interesting thing to spend word count on, but it is instructive nevertheless. Okay. So this is so falchions are, so we're looking for 2 one-handed weapons, almost certainly. It looks like my son woke up and he's hanging out with his grandparents. I will be going upstairs shortly too. But I think our dude probably hammer and let's be really cheesy and have a bald dwarf barbarian named Merik who uses a hammer and a sickle, or something, a curved thing and a hammer. Let's cheese it up, and let's see what that would look like. Let's look at Warhammer. So it's 1d8 and it has the shove trait, and it's in the hammer group. Okay. And the light hammer is, so we probably want to have a throwing weapon in our offhand, because I'm really fond of that ability to kind of just, if you have a spare action instead of moving. Yeah, and this is a nice range increment too, 20. Yeah. Yep. And we got a nice strength modifier. Oh, but agile, you have the strength modifier. That's rough. And I bet you that still works that way even after you throw it. Let's do it anyway. That'll be his offhand weapon. That'll be the light hammer, and then the other thing will be sweep. Only starts to apply on your second action. So that's not going to work for us, because we want to use an agile weapon in our second. And we want to have agile for our second strikes. So this means we need a one-hander that is going to do us good on our first attack. Longsword's kind of boring. Ooh, pick. Oh, fatal D10. What is fatal? Oh, this is too good. All right. Let's get in there. Let's read these tags. Or as was pointed out in chat, they're called traits. We got a lot going on in chat too. Just finished the skill section. It's hammer time. Do the dwarven weapon feats give you a bonus to both hammers and axes, or do you have to pick one? So what they do is they take the dwarf tag weapons, dwarf trait weapons, and they class them down to simple. That's what I've seen so far. Sorry, I just knocked the mic. And dual wield hammer guy would be a steel drum. Bard is next in the great alphabetical order, classes. So yeah. So I think we're gonna do pick, but I'm really interested in what this fatal trait is. All of the weapons damage dice increase to that die size. So that's awesome because your first strike, and that's really good. So I'm gonna talk through that. So let's page over to our dude. So he's regular proficiency in weapons. So that's his weapon proficiency right there. So he's already got a +5 right there. And then so that means that on his first strike, he's got a decent chance of doing a critical hit. If he does a critical hit, the D6 for his pick goes to a D10 for both dice. So that it becomes 2D10. That's actually cool, but it's also really synergizes because we're not taking any penalty on that 2 hit for the first strike. So we're saving our agile strike for later. And that's if I have any awesome Pathfinder 2 lesson for you here, it's that if you're going to dual wield, agile makes a lot of sense for the second trait. But then you have to ask yourself, like, how so many of these things like sweep only accumulate on later strikes. So what do you do to take advantage for your first strike? And the answer, I think, is traits like fatal. And we'll be looking for more of those. But Merik the Dwarf Barbarian uses a pick, a fatal pick. And he throws his hammer occasionally, and possibly if he has extra gold lying around, he'll probably pick up a bow. And then I would probably also use a javelin, because then I would get strength bonus. The challenges with thrown weapons is something that we're going to have to confront later. I would like to make someone who uses thrown weapons a lot, but I think it's going to take a little bit more proficiency with the builds and so on. So let's pop over to chat. And let's bid our farewells to y'all who've been hanging out, which have been our McDude, Sarah P, Calcine, Barney was here for a second. Well, lots of people have been. Oakart, Mark Ritz was here. Very cool, very cool. So thank you for the patience about the weird thing with the mic. Apologies about that. If you're watching this at a later date, we will be getting our Dwarf Barbarian into a more presentable form for later. He's got a pick for his first attack, and he's got a light hammer, which is D4s, and it's agile. And it's got a 20-foot range increment, which means if he hits somebody with his pick, if he hits somebody and kills them on his first round with one of those awesome critical hits, instead of he might be able to stride and then reach out to up to 40 feet because he has that throwing agile. I think throwing and agile together are a really great tag to have for your second weapon. Generally, people have wanted to dual wield a lot in Pathfinder, and generally in D&D games. That's been one of the great complaints is like, I want to be a guy who uses 2 weapons, or that the opportunity cost of using a shield or a Zweihander, a 2-handed weapon, doesn't feel meaningful enough. Like, what am I giving up? It's so reflexive. Why shouldn't I have a 2-handed weapon? Was the answer in the 3.5 days. A spiked chain usually, and I think we have the answer now. I think we have if there's any success, if there's any praise that I'm going to give Pathfinder 2 right now, it is that I think Pathfinder 2 has resolved the great problem with dual wielding in Dungeons and Dragons games, and the problem with what is the opportunity? What am I giving up? If you know what I'm saying. So anyway, I bid you all a great afternoon. I am still a grown up, and I got to go do grown up things. Have a good one.